Welcome everybody for this December 15th, 2021 Helpful Village release webinar. Good to see you all here. And we have a fun webinar today, so it's gonna be cool. So this is the agenda for the meeting, which is the usual agenda. A couple of reminders, a quick taxonomy project update, the release notes, which are the new improvements we have done to the platform this month, a demo, and a discussion about next priorities. So let's get in. I wanted to show you this pyramid that we showed at the conference that we have shown a few times, but this is basically how we see the Village services. As you all know, Village is usually started with services and events, and then we added capabilities into Helpful Village to do services with a COVID safe clearance and the Zoom for the events. And then we discussed about check-ins, I think it was 2 months ago. And then I'm showing the pyramid because today we'll be discussing also about improvements we have done to Village Talk. So just, because it's kind of a big improvement we did this month, just so that you have it in context about how we see that module in the strategy of villages. But let's start with a reminder first. We have a webinar today. We are not having the webinar with the Village to Village network. Next month, we were discussing with Gary, who's our, Helpful Village Users Group coordinator, and then obviously next Wednesday was so close to Christmas that basically the decision was to cancel that one. But there's a couple of new webinars in January. There is the next Helpful Village release webinar on January 19th, which is the usual third Wednesday of the month, and the V2V hosted webinar for Q&A that is coming back on January 26th at the usual time. There's a couple of other reminders here for training docs, the Help Center, Slack, and other things. But you know these things, so that's a quick reminder. This is the usual note also for you to send your questions to Gary Franco. As I said, we don't have a Q&A webinar next week, but you can start sending the questions to Gary and we'll have them lined up for January. So you can contact Gary at hvusers@v2vnetwork.org. Quick reminders about the fact that there is a training docs guide and a help center that are there with those links. This is how the help center looks like, and then you can submit your requests and questions. When you submit a request via the help center, basically you have the system suggesting a few training documents and articles that can potentially help you answer the question before even you ask it. So that's good. Just a quick reminder also to say that if you have a bug or a problem or an issue, you can contact us through support.helpfulvillage.com. Sometimes you have, not sometimes, you have great ideas all the time. Those improvement ideas go to ask.helpfulvillage.com, where basically we have a list of improvements we can add to the software, and we do these improvements every month. Okay, now with the news, we have new training docs that Christina has been working on. So there is a new training doc about how to create mailing labels for your groups. What is the unique participant service report, the unique participants events report. And then she updated the list of reports and how to configure your monthly payments, how to renew your membership with ACH, which are the bank payments we introduced recently. When you do membership payments with ACH, that means the member basically bank account, if he wants to do that. The good thing is that it's much lower fees. So basically it's more money to the village. So the standard fees for credit card payments is 2.9%. The nonprofit rate is usually 2.2% plus 30 cents. But when you do bank payments, it's 0.8% is a Stripe fee, and then there is a Helpful Village fee that is always 0.8%. I'm speaking quick. I'm feeling the radio talk show vibe, so sorry for speaking too quick. I'm gonna slow down for the next sections. Taxonomy project. So you all know what the Taxonomy project is. So I won't even I will show this, but I will not explain. If you have questions about the Taxonomy project, definitely, come back to Christina or to me, and then we are happy to discuss this, because this is a super important project where every village shares a tiny bit of information so that we have a general overview of the numbers. Each village decides if they want to share this information and the counts and the service names, etc. If they don't, we keep track of that. But really the news about the taxonomy project is that last month I was on a trip to California. It was great to go back to the Golden State, and we did a meeting with California villages, essentially to present the taxonomy report. And villages in California were interested in setting up a California taxonomy report that is adding up the numbers of all the villages in California. So the meeting went very well. It was very interesting. There were a lot of very interesting questions. And now there is since November last month, 22nd of November, that means last month, we have a new taxonomy report for the villages in California. 10 of the villages in California are already contributing their numbers. So it's the exact same report we're doing for DC. Remember that we have discussed that in the past. And now there is a different one for California. So each region is having a new taxonomy report. And when we have several regions with taxonomy reports, we can add up the national numbers. So this is, I think, what I'm going to be showing here. We have a taxonomy report here in DC. I hope DC is in there because my square was a little bit kind of a random guess. There is a taxonomy report for California already. And then we are talking with other people, our friends in Columbus, Ohio, New Mexico, Colorado, and Massachusetts, where basically villages have been authorizing to do that. So we just probably will be setting up other meetings and setting up more regional reports. So that's cool. And then when we are further down with the regional reports, we would love to do a national report, because if we do a national report, then we can say, hey, we're helping, I don't know, 10,000 members or 20,000 members. So that's a document that could be helpful when discussing with the, I don't know, federal government or administration to get more resources for villages. So just a quick update. There's nothing to do here. Just keeping you updated on the fact that it's going well. If your village wants to be part of it, or if you want to learn more about it, it's very easy. There's nothing really to do. Just authorize Helpful Village to use those numbers. Helpful Village takes care of the rest. So Christina is the person of contact of the project. So she's managing all the authorizations and everything and all the questions. So if you want to know or have questions about the taxonomy efforts, you can contact her with this email. Okay, I promised I would speak slower, and I didn't follow on my promise. So every time I change sections, I slow down by half the speed. And then I try to speak slower for the next section. Release notes. So these are the changes we added to the platform this month. They are not on your servers yet, because they go on your servers starting this weekend, probably on Friday, because yeah, we want to get some of the stuff out on Friday too. Okay, so just wanted to let you know, we have been working on some maintenance, security, and general improvements. There is one, you don't need, if you're not interested in this, don't pay attention to this slide. But basically, we are using a new technology that is called Turbo, which is intended to speed up the navigation speed so that the website is more responsive and goes quicker. For the geeks in the audience, basically what it does is that it's intercepting some of the clicks that you do on the website, and rather than reloading the whole page, we just replace part of the page with the information we need. But anyways, if you're, these are just technicalities you can ignore, but for those that really like tech, that would be interesting to mention. Okay, now for the improvements. If you go to your people management groups, and you go into any of your groups, you will find a button there that is called mailing labels PDF. So that was there last month already, but we added an improvement this month, which is, well, yeah, I'm going to show the improvement. Basically, the way this works is that it uses obviously the address, in the address field of your person, and it uses the mailing name. So the mailing name is a field you can find under the general tab of that person. There is a more link that opens up additional fields where you can enter the race, ethnicity, gender, and also the mailing name. Now, the mailing name is what's going to be printed on the label. So if you're going to use the full name, kind of first name and last name, don't do it. You can just, but here is where you would enter Mr. and Mrs. Smith or something like that. It's whatever you want to use in your snail mail address for people. It doesn't need to be individual for that person. If you're sending them letters, for both of them, both or three people or anything, is basically you can put any text in here. So Mr. and Mrs. or whatever. Now, if this field is empty, if you don't enter the mailing name for this person, the system is smart enough, and this is new this month, so that we're going to use the first name and last name in the database. So if it's empty, we just, we'll use the name that we know from the database. There is kind of more of a reminder about the format. Basically, is that when you go out to your stationery shop or something, you can buy these stickers, basically, which has this format. And basically, the printing labels that we do for these mailing labels follows this Avery 5160 format, which that's kind of basically just the size of the paper and the size of the stickers. So if you want to use that, or if you want to try it, you can buy that paper or those stickers from from your local shop, and then when you print, these names will fit into those stickers areas. So yeah, hopefully that can make it easier for you for your snail mail campaigns. Okay. Now there is a lot of new reports that we added this month. Reports that we have discussed in the past. So we did a meeting with you all about the request for new reports. So those were in that list, but now we're just adding them to the platform. So those are the tax deductible report, all former volunteers report, people with no valid emails, mileage report, clusters with lead captions. Don't worry too much if you don't know what those are about, because I'm going to show the details in about a second. Just laughing off because I keep speaking fast, and I think it's just because it's cold in this room today. So it's just survival reflex or something. Okay, let's go with reports. You will find the tax deductible report under the pay tab of that person. So you find there the donations for the person, the payments for this person. There is a new button that we added that is the tax deductible report. The goal of this report is to provide it to volunteers so that they benefit from tax deductions. You can create your own template for this report. This is a Word, Word document template that you can create. I don't know, Christina, I don't know if we added. No, we didn't add it. Yeah, I mean, you added the print screen here. So basically, Christina, I don't know if you have the training doc for this one ready, or if it's gonna come in the upcoming weeks. But basically, okay. So Christina is gonna, I mean, the functionality is ready, but the training doc is gonna come. What we do is that you can upload to the documents library a Word template, right, where you put your logo, your address, your language, etc. And then there is one of the replacement fields, which is the sorry, this table of the tax deductible things. So basically, if you put that placeholder there, our code is gonna pull the donations from the database, and also the mileage that has been done for the village for a given time period. So essentially, if it's for the 2020 period, it's going to show on that Word document, and then basically you can send it to your volunteers for their taxes. So yeah, so this is one of the new reports. We have another report that is easier to explain because it's not tax related, and basically, if you go to the reports area under the volunteer section, we had volunteers activity, we had active volunteers, and one of the villages had requested to have a report with all former volunteers that are not active volunteers anymore. So we had a report that is all former members. We didn't have a report that is all former volunteers, so that we have a new report that you can find in there. Wow. Okay, all former volunteers report. So these are just the fields that are in there. Chris, I don't know if you wanted to say something else about this report, because I don't know why there is so much red, but basically all the former volunteers are on this spreadsheet file format. Okay. I saw all this red. Is like, oh, what does she want me to say about each one of these fields? Okay, there's another report under all people. Sometimes, well, as you know, on the platform, and I guess as your members become more tech savvy, they will be interacting more with the platform, and we definitely use emails a lot for volunteer opportunities to let people know about Village Talk or the check-ins, etc. So you always want to have members and volunteers with the real valid emails in the platform. So one way to help you do that is that we produce a report where we basically just get all the people where you have not collected a valid email. So then from there, either you ask them, or you contact them, or see, but at least you see the people that have not given you a valid email address. Same thing here, these just the columns of that same report, so just a standard spreadsheet file. Okay, there is another one of these reports, which is the mileage report. So basically you can find it under reports, under reporting docs, under the volunteer activities. You have a new button that is mileage report. If you hit on that button, get a spreadsheet file that's going to give you the total miles and total minutes that have been done per volunteer activity. So this is obviously showing a table, but the table will have the services that your village does. So, but it's basically just adding up number, kind of minutes and miles for each one of the volunteer activities. Okay, this is another report, which is clusters with lead captain. So let me explain this a little bit. First of all, this is one configuration of helpful village that not all villages have. Is the possibility, we call it hub and spoke, but it's basically the possibility to have different neighborhoods in your village. And then if you have different neighborhoods, this is something that is connected with emergency plans. So we really like this idea of emergency plans. So not all villages do them, but you know, if you don't have one, I think it's interesting. I always tell this story about Sausalito, which is also the village that requested this report, because when there were the power outages in California with the fires, they had a great reaction there. And one thing they did is that they organized so that they can have a person in each one of the neighborhoods basically knock on the door of the members to see if they were doing okay, even though they didn't have power, and to see if they had food and all they needed. So having an emergency plan for your members is really interesting. One of the things that they came up with, and this is also they coordinated with the police department and the city basically, but it's basically having these different neighborhoods and having also a lead captain per neighborhood. So basically it's a person you can contact in your neighborhood if your members need help. So we produce now, and you can already do that on Helpful Village. We just added a report that looks like this. Basically, you have your different neighborhoods in your software. It just prints who is the person that is the captain for that neighborhood, and then basically how many individual members or household members do they have. So the numbers here look a little weird because this is demo, so everyone is in downtown for demo. But if, for the real village, is obviously more interesting to see, okay, each one of the neighborhoods, each one of the neighborhood captains has this many people basically that can contact them. So just a way to have a balanced, you know, number of people per captain. So we're interested in you know, listening ideas about your emergency plans. This is one of the things, and we work on this with Sausalito, but other villages that have other ideas, we think this is interesting. Okay, those were the new reports. Now we have some other reports that we have modified. So we are going to talk now about the modifications to reports we did this month. One is when you go to the volunteer profile, you can see all the volunteer services that were provided by this person. So we had that report before. Now what has changed is that now you can request that report for a date range. So before we were just doing everything that this person had done ever, right? But now you don't always need to know the whole, you know, 10 years history of volunteering for this person, but you can say, okay, I want to know what are the volunteer activities of this person this year, or whatever date range you want. So that's one of the changes. All volunteer services. Oh, and this is how the report looks like. So I was surprised because, like, oh, I don't see what's new with this report. It's just the same report, just the date range is different. So you can see here the date range that you use when you are requesting the report. Okay, so we have another report modification we do, and I know not all villages are doing this, but some villages are. So villages that are recommended have a list of recommended providers to their members, right? They have the possibility to enter the providers they're recommending in different categories, if they, you know, restaurants or whatever, plumbers or anything. And when they're entering providers into the database, they are not immediately visible to their members because basically they need to be made visible by the village. So there's an approval process. These already existed on the platform, on the online platform. We're just not showing this column on the spreadsheet report. So we added 2 more columns to the spreadsheet report if it's visible to members. and another column that says if this provider has been vetted or screened. I think we want to use the screen word, but it's just kind of similar. So basically, just a spreadsheet report of your providers has now more information. Okay, there is a report for prospect tasks. So basically, these are the prospects module is being used to follow up on potential new members, potential new volunteers, potential new donors, and this happens through some prospect tasks. And then you can do it online. But then now you can also produce a spreadsheet file using a date range, saying, okay, what are the prospect tasks that we have scheduled for whatever date range? So basically, for this month. And then if you have that spreadsheet file, maybe you can send it to one of your recruiters or prospectors, and then basically with that spreadsheet file, they can make the phone call to follow up on your members and volunteers. So that's also just making it easier for you to have a report that is more targeted. Okay, we have another report, which is a volunteers activity report. It's a report that existed before. Because basically we received a request from one village about about something very interesting, which is just they wanted to contact volunteers that had no activity in a long time. So basically, you want to keep your volunteers engaged. So we had this volunteer activity report already that was showing the volunteers sorted by the last time they completed a service. So you could easily see, okay, this guy volunteered recently and ordered at the bottom of the file, or the opposite. You see people that volunteered a long time ago. Now that file did not include people that had 0 volunteer activities. So that's the change we add this month, is that even those that have 0 volunteer activity are also included in that report, so that now you can effectively contact not only the volunteers that volunteered a long time ago, but also those that were screened and never, for some reason, never volunteered. So you can use this report called volunteers activity, basically to make sure you keep all your volunteers engaged. That report includes obviously the name, also contact information, and these 2 columns you can see there. It's like when was the last completed service, and kind of what's the total number of services they have completed. So it's a good way to see, okay, this person volunteered a long time ago, and he used to do a ton of services, so maybe I should call this person, or a person that volunteered recently but has only volunteered once, so you can have your analysis of the volunteers you wanted to contact again. Okay, so that's a lot of improvements around reporting. Before I move on to the next feature, I see Christina wants to add up something, so Chris, you can jump in.
There are some questions in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can answer some of them.
Good. Yes.
Can you repeat again the fees for ACH?
Yes. So ACH is automatic clearing house, I think. So basically it's the banking payment. So you can now on Helpful Village enter the bank account of one of your members, and basically if you have on a monthly payment plan, basically that money would be withdrawn from their bank account. So that's just for context. Now the fees are, when we're working with Stripe, so I want to make a reminder of all the fees. If you have a credit card payment, right? So there are no monthly fees and there are no setup fees with Stripe. But every time there is a transaction on Stripe, there is a transaction fee. This transaction fee contains a Stripe fee, which usually kind of it's kind of the standard rate is 2.9% of the transaction. Now, a lot of the villages have applied. You can apply for a nonprofit rate, and when you do that, the transaction fee comes down to 2.2% plus 30 cents in most cases. So if your village has not applied for the nonprofit status, you should definitely contact Stripe for that preferential fee. They're going to ask for the 501c3 paperwork and stuff like that, and they can set that up. One thing that it has been told to some of the villages that they were okay applying that nonprofit rate for kind of the donations, but not for the payment. So, I mean, you need to talk with Stripe. Some of the villages, something we do is that we can allow for 2 different Stripe accounts for your village, so that one is applied for, you know, the donations, and a different one for the services. So anyways, we can do all of that. Now this, I think I already said the fees there is 2.9% is the standard. If you get the nonprofit fee from Stripe, it comes down to 2.2% plus 30 cents. And there is a 0.8% helpful village fee for our side of the work. If you do a bank ACH payment, in that case, the Stripe fee is 0.8%. So it's not 2.2 plus percent anymore. It becomes 0.8%. And there also there is the same helpful village fee as before. There is a 0.8%. So I don't know. I try to lay it down as simple as possible, but basically the main thing to remember is that most villages have the nonprofit fee. So the credit card go is at 2.2% plus 30 cents, and the ACH fees go down to 0.8%. So you're saving 1.4%, I guess. Okay, that's it. So basically that's, I hope it's clearer now than before. Chris, I think you're muted.
Yes, there's another question about the clusters and lead capitals.
Yes.
Is it to be hub and spoke?
No, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Great question. So no, we can activate that for any village. So if you want to have some sort of classification of neighborhoods, we can do that. Even if your village is not hub and spoke. I'm just hesitating because the thing is about definitions, right? What is hub and spoke? But even hub and spoke doesn't have a unique definition in the movement. You know, Marine is a hub and spoke because they have one office and basically, you know, staff that is helping all different local villages. But then Villages Northwest is also hub and spoke, but they also work in a different way. What basically my definition of hub and spoke is when you have some common resources you share among different villages, and sometimes it's kind of kind of the same website. Sometimes it's just they're sharing, I mean, I don't know, an accountant plus other kind of grant writing capabilities. So hub and spoke doesn't have a unique definition. Now, what I wanted to say is that for helpful village, what it means is that any village can activate this classification per neighborhoods, and you don't need to have any hub and spoke requirement. The thing will still work the same. There is no extra cost, so there is no additional fees. It's just obviously a little bit more complexity because every time you sign up someone, you need to say on which neighborhood they are and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of, if you want, it kind of helps you to classify. If it makes sense for your emergency plan, it's a good thing to do. If you want to do it but not really get any of the benefits, I would say don't do it. But yeah, so that's for the neighborhoods or hub and spoke. You had another question, Chris, before we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
This one about the mailing labels when there
Yes.
are household members.
Yes.
It will print two mailing labels, or how will
Yes.
it work?
So the thing is that you can print that from every group. So you go to people management groups, and then from there you print. So we're gonna put a row in the spreadsheet file. I mean, sorry, we're gonna put every person that is on that group. So if you have a group with all your active members, and then there is both people in the household that are on that list, well then yeah, then it's gonna show twice.
Manuel, would you mind to show it just 1 second? How do you get to the mailing labels PDF?
Yeah, sure. Let's do this.
Just share your screen 1 second for Sheena.
Ooh, I mean, people management. Let me refresh my page because I don't know what I was doing here. Okay, there we go. People management groups. And then when you go to groups, any of these groups, if you want to have your list of your drivers, let's say, and then if you go down here, you have, you basically see all the people that are in your drivers group. You can add a new person. You have all these features here. You can synchronize this group with MailChimp. And then there is one additional button here that is mailing labels, that basically when you click on it, it's going to generate a PDF document that looks like this. So basically everyone that was in there, you have, well, their name and their address, etc. Obviously, if you don't have the address for the person, we're not printing it, but that's it. So basically, yeah, it kind of has this format, and basically, as I was saying before, you can purchase these stickers at your, stationery shop or something, and then basically this will fit your stickers.
Yeah, just to make clear, because some people were using different format. The correct format are 5160, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because there are different formats, different sizes of the stickers, so we had to choose one, and we took that 5160. Okay, so that's for mailing labels. You had another one, Chris, before we move on?
Yes, for ACH payments, to set the first payment, the date I have to enter for Petaluma.
Wait, repeat that.
Yeah, when you create an ACH payment, you can set up the first date for the first payment, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It works in the exact same way it worked for credit card payments. The difference is that when you're setting, okay, I want to set up monthly payments for this member, there's a drop-down box that says, okay, how do you want to pay it? It's going to say, do you want to set it up by credit card or by bank account? And then when you choose bank account, it's going to ask for the, the routing number and the account number. Now, there's also one thing to say, because we mentioned the fees. So definitely the fees are better for the bank account payments. And now credit card has some advantages too. The first thing is that credit card works right away. So if you have a new person that comes to the website, they can pull out their credit card and make the payment immediately. The bank account needs validation, actually. So what happens is that, yeah, you enter the payment saying, okay, you enter your bank account information. You cannot make the payment right away because we need to wait until the bank account is validated. So what happens is when you enter the bank account and routing number, there will be a micro deposit on that bank account, just 1 cent or 3 cents or 4 cents or something. And then basically the person needs to check on their bank account, see, okay, hey, I received 3 cents and 4 cents, etc. And then when they go back to the website or they contact the village, they need to say what's the amount in cents they received with these 2 micro deposits. When they enter those, the number of cents they received, basically the bank account is validated, and then they can proceed with the bank account payment. So another thing that is interesting is with the credit card, kind of right away if the payment is accepted or not accepted, right? So just immediately Stripe can know, yes, this person, this bank account, this transaction is approved, and then the money will be in your bank sometime down the road, kind of 2 days after. With the bank account payments, you solicit the payment. It takes a few more days, actually. I think maybe 5, 6, 7 days to receive the actual bank payment. And then basically you only know at the end of those 7 days if the payment was accepted. So there is no immediate approval of that payment. So that was why, was so much work for us to basically make for those differences between credit card and bank account. So essentially, in a nutshell, credit card payments are faster and bank account payments are cheaper. That's what I would say.
Manuel?
Yes.
I have 2 quick questions about that. One, so when I went to do one the other day, it asked me for the payment date.
Yes.
So does that mean I should make that like 3 or 4 days in the future to allow for the micro deposit time?
Yeah, great question. Wait, so first of all, it's a good question, Mary Cruz. The first thing, the micro deposit is only something that needs to be done once, right? So it's not, so basically on the first bank account payment, we just need to know that, yeah, this person has this bank account, and we know he has that bank account because he can read the statement and know how much money were those micro deposits for, right?
Right.
Once the bank account is approved, well, then there is no more micro deposits in the future. Now, when you set up the the time of the payment.
I
It's
think it
basically-
asked it before the micro deposits went through, so that's why I wasn't sure. I think it was like one of the first things that said
Yeah.
enter payment date.
Mhm.
And I wasn't sure what to enter because I didn't know how long that was going to take.
Yeah. So basically the thing is, what happens there is when is helpful to request the payment actually. So for example, if you choose the 25th of the month, right, of December,
Mhm.
that at that date, basically we will solicit the payment from the bank on the 25th, and basically we will not receive the money on the 25th. Basically you just ask for the money to the bank, and the bank sends it out kind of 5 days later or something like that. So it depends. So when you're choosing the date, is basically when we are requesting that money.
So, but I'm saying, so like if I was ready for them to pay me today,
Uh-huh.
but the bank is not going to be ready for,
No.
it
The bank
doesn't
is-
matter.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, when you choose the date that you're choosing there is that the date you're telling us when should we request the money from that member, right? So if it's a bank account payment, we basically request it, let's say on the 25th, and then the bank takes a few days before they send the money, and even before we know if the payment goes through or if there's insufficient funds, etc. So yeah, if you want to kind of receive the payment confirmation, the success on let's say on the 30th, yeah, you probably want to set up the kind of the monthly payment date on the 25th, or kind of a few days before, so that we are requesting the funds earlier.
So if I'm setting it up, say on the 15th,
Yes.
and I want the payment to date to be the 16th, but the process will not have happened by the 16th.
Yeah.
Do I still put the 16th and then
No.
every month it'll happen on the 16th?
No. So you need to, yeah. So as I'm saying, yeah, that also kind of was a headache for us, because it's different with the credit card. The credit card, the bank just tells us right away. It's like, yeah, okay, approved. Boom, the money is on its way. But with the bank, they just don't tell us. They just say, okay, you put in the request, and then 5 days later we know if it went through. So if you really want to know on the 16th, to do your example, but if on the 16th you want to know if the bank payment was made, what I would do is that on Helpful Village, you go in and say, okay, the payment date, let's set it up to the 10th, so that we allow for a few days before we know if the payment was effective or not. So yeah, you need to kind of allow for those days for the bank.
And then
payment.
just one other quick question. Someone else asked me, because of this process, does that mean that members won't be able to choose it themselves? This has to be set up ahead of time, like for donations or payments. They can't set it up themselves, right?
So no, at this time we are introducing it for admins first, right? So that we get more familiar with that. Maybe we'll open it up to members in the future, but for now, kind of it's an admin only feature.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Manuel, it's
Yes.
Susan. I have a question about that.
Mhm.
First, I wanted to thank you for adding that option of donors being able to cover the credit card fee.
Mhm.
That's just been really successful with our donors now during our annual campaign, and so many of them are taking advantage of that. So thank you very much. That's saving us a lot of money.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, at the end of our campaign, say the end of January, can we run a report on that, of how many credit card donors chose that option to cover the credit card fee?
Yeah, I cannot give you an answer right now. I need to look into it.
Okay.
Because I'm not even sure we're saving that information to the database, actually. Or we're just adding the amount. When you're doing the donation, it adds up the amount.
Right.
But it's a great point. So I need to give it more thought. So it's hard for me to answer, in 2 seconds. But it's a great,
sure.
It's great to raise that point.
Okay. Should I put it at requested and
That's the best
Okay.
way to make sure we don't forget. But
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
it doesn't seem too hard. It's just the way it's done today. I think we're just not saving that information. So, but we could, it's just another checkbox we could save when we're doing it, and then display it on the report. So it's doable.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, you have one more, or we move on?
I think we need to move on. Right?
Okay. Yes, so let's go back here. Okay, so we have been working on improvement for Village Talk, which, as you know, is, in our view, a key component that I know would like more villages to use. I wanted to thank here Northwest Village Network, which is a village in Philadelphia that has been helping us improve Village Talk. So I think it's looking way better. So as it gets better and better, we hope more people will be using it. So let me show you what some of the changes we have done. The first thing we have done is that we have done interest groups catalog that your members can choose from. So you can have different interest groups. So here you see announcements, you see if you have a birders group, I think that's the picture for the book club. And this there is another COVID-19 village group. So basically your members could, or your admins can subscribe people to any of these interest groups. So basically now we make it much more comprehensible so that when people go in, they can see these pictures, they can see the discussion in this group, and they can join the groups that they want. So that's the first thing, is kind of making an interest groups catalog more appealing. When you enter any of these interest groups, we have made it much easier to manage. How do you interact with this group? You can, when you enter any of these interest groups, you can manage your notification. So basically you can be part of a group and then decide, okay, I want to receive a notification on the website. So there's this little red bubble that shows you kind of, you know, a little signal if there is something new that has happened in the discussion group. There is another toggle that is about the notification via email. So you can decide for some groups or for all of the groups, if you want to receive an email the next day about activity that may have happened on that group. So that is kind of better management. You can also invite, if you know another member that may be interested in any of the interest groups, you can invite them through the website so that you have more people coming in. Now there is a possibility, there is another page where you can manage your subscriptions, basically. So basically subscription is, there are different interest groups. When do you want to be notified that there is something new on it, and you can be notified on it on the website or on the email. So that allows people, you know, if they think that they're receiving too many emails and say, well, I don't want to receive emails about this topic, I'll read about it when I go to the website. So they can manage that. We added a link on the website so that people can manage their preferences and say, okay, I want to receive emails for these topics, but not email for these other topics. So that's something they can do from the email. We have also improved the topic field. So basically when you're posting a message to the forum, we had a different way we were operating this, but basically you're entering the topic of the discussion, and then the description was optional, but was kind of, you needed to expand it. Now it's showing, so it's just easier to use. And I'll show this, a demo of this in a minute. When there is when you see a conversation on Village Talk, it is now possible to see the person's profile. So when you see a person wrote a post on it, you can click on their name, and that's going to show you their picture and also the bio. Remember, your members can set up a bio on their profile, so this can be visible to your Village Talk participants. You can also, you know, check on the Village topic and see all the Village topics of that. Another thing we added is that there is the possibility to add these pictures and also emojis to your messages to make it more, you know, more interesting. This is another request that that I believe is very important. We send an email, you know, depending on the subscriptions you have to the interest groups, right? So if a member, you know, decided they wanted to receive emails about any of these topics, there is only one email per day that goes out at 6 a.m. with a notification. So even if you're subscribed to 20 different interest groups, we're not going to send you 20 emails because, you know, people would get overwhelmed and they wouldn't like too much interaction there. So we send an email per day at 6, but that email contains all the interactions that have happened on their interest groups. So that email goes out. The title of that email used to be something very boring, kind of, you have unread notification that was not very appealing. So now we have much better title to that email, which is, you know, what happened basically. Christina posted, I love to interact with others. in the demo village talk, etc. So just the title makes it more appealing, helps you understand what happened on the platform. So Guadalupe Lisa commented, Guadalupe liked your post and stuff like that. So just the emails are more interesting. Actually, when you open those emails, now we have added the content of the post. So this is a conversation that goes on the website, right? But then what we're told also, and all villages know this, kind of some members, I mean, like going to the website, and some members, they never want to go log in onto the platform. But you still want them to be aware of the conversations that are going on the platform. So now, even if they don't log into the platform, they can receive in their emails basically the evolution of the conversation. So basically, this is what they would see in their emails. Kind of Luisa commented on a post, and you can see what she wrote. I love to be more connected to my community, etc. So now people just can read more of the village talk activity from their email. What we were doing before, we're doing something like, hey, you have unread notifications, something happened on the website, go to the website, check out. Now you don't need to go to the website, you can read it from your email. Obviously, there is a button at the bottom of this email that takes you to the website, where you can, it's always more interesting to see the live information. There's another feature that I think is really interesting, is the following: that we just received the email that I showed you before, but now your people can reply to that email from their email service. So they don't even need to go to the platform to post something. If they reply to the email and want to say something about that conversation, they can also do it replying to the email we just sent them. And that will add that comment to the website, right? So again, for people that are not very comfortable, or they don't log into your website, they can now be part of the village talk conversations from their email clients. So this is an example. This is what Christina did, right? So she received an email with a kind of the post that she saw before, and then she wrote an email. Great improvement, it is easy to answer. She sent that email, and then basically this is how it shows now on the website. Okay, that's it. And then now I'm gonna show you basically live how this looks like. So basically, this is our demo website. If you go to Village Talk, it looks like this, right? So basically shows you the Village Talk where there's some conversation. There's an interest groups catalog, so I can go in here to see what are different discussion groups. Before I do that, I'm gonna scroll down, because if you scroll down, I can see all the conversations and activity that has been happening in all my groups. So basically, I see here that Christina posted in one of the groups I'm subscribed to, which is Healthy Aging, and she wrote, now I do an hour of exercise every day. I would also want to receive some tips about nutrition, and I like this comment, so I can say, okay, I like this comment. Then she has posted into this other group, which is general. These other conversations going on, the technology updates, etc. So it's basically all the posts and conversations that have been happening on the village are here. I have also the possibility to filter this group and say, okay, if I only want to see the post of the book club, because that's what I'm interested in at this point, I can click on that one. It's going to show me only the list of activities and discussions that are happening in the book club, right? So it's a way to organize your posts and discussions. Now let me go back to Village Talk here, because I wanted to show you this new interest groups catalog. So basically, there's this very prominent button here. When you click on it, it's going to show to your members basically different interest groups that there are in the village. So these are customizable, actually, so you can set up your own. There are a few that are standard. So for example, announcements is one particular group that is a little bit different, where basically it's the announcements from the village to the members, where basically the members cannot create new posts. So this basically kind of similar to what we do with announcements in Slack for Helpful Villages. Like, we don't want to have a ton of conversation going on there, but people where basically the village writes announcing things to the membership base. But then these other groups are customizable. In this demo site, Christina created a group for birders, people that are interested in watching birds, the book club, COVID-19. There is a general discussion group, there's Healthy Aging. You can create your own, and obviously you can set up the pictures for for any of these groups. And then for any of these groups, when I'm visiting the the catalog, basically I can do two things. I can either join the groups, because saying, okay, I like this group. Actually, this one is women's coffee, so I'm not gonna join it. But the thing that I can do here is that I can also preview the group. So basically, before I join it, I can also click on it, and if you use that button, it's gonna show me the discussion that is going on here, even though I'm not a member of the group. So if I'm not a member of the group, I will not receive the notifications, I will not receive the emails, etc. But I can look at it and say, well, is this kind of conversation interesting to me? If it is, then I can decide to join the group. So you can have a look first and then join only if it's interesting. Let me go back to another group. So if we go back to the catalog again, let's go to the birders group. Okay, so this is how this group looks. So this is the name of the group, this is the description of the book of the group. And then when I'm here, I can do different things. I can manage my notifications. I can say, okay, I want to be notified on the website, or I want to be notified on the via email. So you can manage these toggles. If you're not notified on the website, we're not even asking you if you want to be notified on the email. But if you can be notified on the email, but you don't want to receive the emails, you can do that. So the notifications that you can see here are here, right? So you can see these are the notifications on the website is here. It's basically every time there is something new happening, it's going to be a new number and a red label here next to your profile. When you click on it, you see what happens. So basically Guadalupe commented on a post, Christina commented on a post, etc. When I can click on any of this, so I want to know what Guadalupe is saying in that group. That's bringing me to that conversation where I see that she posted this message here. As I was saying before, if I was saying, wow, she said something really interesting here, but I want to know who this person is, you can also go back in here and click on their name. When you click on their name, you see a bigger picture, and you can see the bio of that person, you know, that the member can choose to add there. Okay. There is another functionality you can do from your notifications, is that here there's this little key. It's the same thing you can do from your email. If you want to manage your subscription, you can also come here to this page. We're basically saying for each group, you can manage all your notifications in one place. So basically here I can see that I want to be notified on the website and via email for the birders group. For the book club, same thing. I want to be notified on the website and via email. For COVID also, I want to do the same, but then healthy aging, yes. But then HV top innovators, like who's these HV guys? I don't want to receive their email. Emails about that conversation, and I don't even want to receive notifications on the website. I want to be on the group. You know what? I don't even want to be on the group. So you can remove yourself from the group. You can do all that, interest groups management from this page. Let me see if I have. Well, that was a little crazy. I cannot do that right now. That's my email, but my email goes crazy with all the activity going on. So I wanted to show you kind of the post that people receive every day at 6 a.m., but I didn't prepare it. So I guess I'll stop there. Now for Village Talk. So a lot of these new improvements make it more interesting. I believe offering to your members the possibility to join discussion groups and interest groups is something that is super interesting. By the way, I'm going to show you also the fact that you can do people management groups. How can you set them up, right? Is you can go into the group categories, and if you go into interest groups, and then into interest groups, you can have the list that you just saw, right? So the birders, book club, etc. But you can edit these groups. You can create new groups. If you wanted to edit this group, for example, you can come in here, more details about this group. And when you're in the details of this group, you can see who is in there. You can add new people to this group as an admin. You can also add to MailChimp. You can send MailChimp message to these interest group people. You can send mailing labels to those people. I wanted to show you basically that when you edit this group, you have the name, the description that you can manage. You can upload a picture, etc. So you can configure your interest groups. Anyways, I don't want to show you more features about it. It's something we're working on because, as I said before, I think it's a great value to your members so that they can be part of interest groups and that there can be online conversations. Now, at the same time, I would say that for villages that are interested in this, we would be happy to work with you and Christina in particular to roll it out kind of step by step. So we would recommend that if one of your villages is interested, we set up a small group with 4 to 5 people so that there is a learning curve that we're happy to do with you. So we are happy to have Christina or myself into that group, start posting something in a test environment before you go out, because we definitely want you to understand and get the training necessary before you open it up your village talk to 200 members with 200 people receiving emails and notifications, etc. So let's go. I think it's super interesting, but let's also go step by step. So let's create a small group, test it with our team, you get familiar with that, and then before we open it up to all your members. So we're excited about that. Christina, you had one question.
Yes. One point that Maricruz made from Petaluma is that people that have not login rights can also participate on Village Talk, replying through the emails. That's one point. The second one is that there are also moderation.
Yes, so those great points. So one thing is, yes, there is moderation features there. As I said before, it's one of the reasons we want you to go slow and kind of train in a small group first. I don't remember which group was it, but basically, if you have a message that came in here that has a problem because doesn't follow the policy of the village, obviously language would be one thing. Other things maybe, topics. If you don't want to have people get too heated on politics discussions or something, you can, set up your rules. And if people don't follow the rules, the admins have the possibility to come in here and do 2 things. One is edit, but edit, obviously, you need to be careful with that. You can change the post. I would do this essentially, if there is a typo or something, maybe. But moderate is basically allows you to say, okay, I'm going to suspend this post for a little bit. And there is basically here you can say, okay, wait, this one has some editing required. That basically you can contact the author saying, yeah, we're happy to post your message, but you need to realize that, by our policy, you cannot use these words or you cannot talk about these topics. If you change it, we can approve the post. So there is a moderation functionality that is in there. Chris, you had another second part of the question that I forgot, so you can tell me.
Yes, if people have not rights to log in, they can reply and participate in Village Talk through the emails.
Yeah.
Replying the emails.
Yeah, so it's a great question. Now, let me see. First thing is, when we first did Village Talk, we opened it up to members only. We're changing that because based on the feedback, and this is I remember Carol Cookson from Portland, Oregon, was one of them, is we're thinking about opening up Village Talk to more groups so that, first thing is volunteers. So we're working on that so that you can have basically groups that are for members, but then you can have a group for active volunteers. We can have even a group for people that are not active members or volunteers. Now, one thing we're working on here, can show you here, is that there is a new checkbox here. When you go to the roles, remember you have admin, events manager. There is one new one that is Village Talk participant. So now you can manage authorizations about the people you want to participate in those. So for us, yeah, once a person and following, it depends for each group. There are some groups that will be member only, maybe another that is volunteer only, maybe there's another one that is general. We're kind of exploring those options. But basically, yeah, every person that ends up having the right to be part of one group, if they reply to the email and they are in that group, yeah, we will publish that post in there. Now, we always want to be, and the reason we are being very careful is obviously we just want to make sure that, we just want to make sure that the people that post in Village Talk are trustworthy, right? So that's why we open up, it's easier to open up to volunteers first because they are screened and, they're more well-known. And then if everything goes well, we can keep opening it up to more people, to some groups and stuff like that. So anyways, that's, we're going in that direction. Yes.
So my comment to Christina was that because we don't let members log in, for example, we could go in with our writing group, we could click that, give it all to them, and without them ever logging in, just post something, they get the email, reply to the email, and they're there.
Absolutely. Sorry, I think I misunderstood the question because there are two separate questions. One is it only for members? And it was. So we're opening it up to volunteers now, but slowly. But your question was not that. Your question was, if we have members that don't even have login information to the platform, that are unable to log in, as we call them, can they participate in Village Talk? The answer is yes, they can. So if you add them to the Village discussion groups and they receive the notification, they can reply to that email. They can read the email, what the conversation is about. And when they reply, their reply will be added to the website. Yes.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Perfect. So yeah, we're excited about this one. And with all this conversation, it's 1:05, so we're a little bit past the hour. So I don't want to extend it too much. Maybe one thing I wanted to do is bring on Gary. I hope he's on the call still. He was there before. So Gary is the national coordinator and managing the Q&A. As I was saying before, we don't have a V2V webinar next week. We're working next week and stuff like that. So you can still send your questions or your tickets and improvement requests to support.helpfulvillage.com. And then if you have questions that are to be discussed in the January webinar, you can always contact Gary with those questions, and we're gonna talk about those in January. And with all that being said, I just wanted to say that this is a holiday season, and so I wanted to wish a wonderful time for the end of December, for Christmas, and all the things that you may be doing. And it's I'm really happy so that we're approaching the end of the year and excited about what we're all gonna do next year. So with that,
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays all.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Bye bye.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.